There's this thing about Joe being a nice man. Forget it. When the bribe comes along, he recommends that his son be employed by the crookedest man in Ukraine.
The computer repair shop owner who turned in Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop to the FBI now says he's on the verge of bankruptcy.
If you're against the ruling class of this country, you better believe that they're coming. I mean, I'm going to prison on Monday. Obama names Biden as the point man. Then he told Shokin, come on, start up the investigation.
This is the completely crazy person.
Poroshenko was a massive crook.
And these are kind of clowns now, but they have massive power.
The fact checker at the Washington Post had to reverse course and say I was wrong for 4 years. And he wrote a fact check citing our documents saying, turns out Joe Biden called an audible. He did change the policy. Joe Biden was told to do the opposite of what he did in Ukraine.
A revolution.
Inserting yourself, projecting your power in some foreign country. You're also exposing yourself.
Donald Trump didn't, I guess, know enough.
I used to say there's no deep state. They're in your face. When you're in the White House, they're in your grill.
And the motorcade through something, I repeat,
I'm not going to let people frighten me from doing it. Otherwise, what good am I?
They wonder why a crackhead is making millions from the Chinese government.
I'm really lucky, Ed. Great kids.
And so few people are trying to find out what really is going on. What did the FBI discover? They discovered that they were my source.
They blame Russia for everything.
Politico ran a story headlined, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo. Dozens of former intel officials say, God, I can't even say that with a straight face.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan.
It's a clear violation of the First Amendment for the government to be coercing private companies to censor Americans.
A land of poets, kings, and memory, where history breathes through stone and silk. In calligraphy, gardens, and sacred domes. Its soul lives not only in ancient cities, but in prayer whispered before dawn, in the rhythm of rituals, and the quiet pride of those who never forgot who they are. Today, the sky burns, names fall, and once again, the West tries to erase a nation. But history does not forget. It returns in a new chapter of the Great Game.
Good evening. It is episode 49 this Thursday of The Whiners, where, in the words of Mohammad Larijani, we hope to lift the veil of ignorance from Americans with our guest tonight, internationally recognized Ukrainian-American film director and producer Igor Lopatinuk. Cheers to you and to Jeff and to Morgan. Good to see you all this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You're quite first. This is the first promo interview for Iran, the Great Game. And here you are.
Oh, we are so honored.
No, it's gonna be fun. This is a very good one on Prime Video. Now, before we get to that, however, Igor, I'm drinking a very nice white Bordeaux that I practice saying Le Haut de la Garde Blanc. I practiced that all afternoon to try to say it. It's a white Bordeaux, very nice and crisp. What are you drinking, Igor?
The same French, but it's cognac. and I don't remember the name, and they don't pay, they don't pay me. I will not promote them for free. This is quite good and inexpensive.
All right.
As it should be. I'll jump in.
Did you say good and expensive or good and inexpensive?
Non-expensive. That's
not
very rare. Is it?
I'm just drinking water tonight.
Gin. We know that's gin.
Yeah.
All right. And I've practiced saying this all day too, Ryan. This is a California cab. How's my pronunciation?
Beautiful.
I did learn something, actually. You probably know this already, but it says Cabernet Sauvignon on the label. And then when I looked it up online, I saw that it's actually a blend. 77% Cab, 18% Petit Verdot, and 5% Petit Syrah. And do you know what the percentage of any one grape is for it to be called one particular grape in the United States? Let's see how much you know. Let's see how much.
25%.
Nope. 75%.
Oh, Igor also knew that. Okay.
I was a big wine drinker. My favorite one is Chateau Margaux, but particular years. And but I find out there's one of my friends have a good winery, Jordan, in Napa Valley, and John Jordan is a great wine. He's doing this.
All right. Well, let me test. Let's see how much you know. So it's 75% in the U.S., but what is it in Europe and Australia? Do you know?
I believe it's 100.
No, 85%.
85. I'm sorry.
All right. But here's what I'm really wondering. I guess that's the percentage at which it's okay to call it by one grape. But is it required? In other words, could they choose to market it as a blend?
Have no clue.
All right, me neither. All right.
Me neither.
I'm probably the only person in the entire world who's curious about that.
I wouldn't write it off like that, but maybe out of the four of us.
Well, so our guests, Igor, they will know you, I think, if they have watched Ukraine on Fire that you and Oliver Stone produced. It took a number of years. I have been watching that multiple times along with some of the others. And as you said, and Jeff flashed up there on the screen, you're inaugurating a new documentary, really at quite a time that we have in the world today, Iran, the Great Game. Of course, that topic, the Great Game, is something I've thought about quite a bit. And I think about Jeffrey Sachs, who also plays somewhat interestingly in Ukraine, because he's also been quoted saying that he thinks the British Empire was always kind of the centerpiece of the problems in the world.
Well, they're still jealous. They're still jealous of American independence. They still playing in Ukraine. They, of course, wandering around in Iran because they was beaten, and they oil resource, what is British Petroleum, was Anglo-Iranian company, was taken away from them, and they have no capacity to run regime change. They run to United States. It's all in my film. That's all the history, but it's much, much deeper than that. Let's go in the history for 2,500 years, even up to 5,000 to Elamite Empire, way before Persia, way before Patria, to Elamites. We was visiting unique places, and that's one of them. Nakesh Rustam is blow my mind. This is a place just 16 kilometers from Persepolis, where in the big rocks, big mountain, carved tombs for ruling emperors, Xerxes, Artaxerxes, and Darius II. That's amazing place, an amazing history. And you know how much year our empire exists? I was like a 250.
I mean, this is the 250th year of the United States.
Yeah. The continuity, this is big deal. This is only, by the way, I can name only few of state of civilization. Pepe Escobar, who also contributed for our film as a one speaker, I love him very much. I was told to follow him by my teacher in investigative journalism, and Robert Perry, who was contributing for Ukraine on Fire, and Oliver Stone, my master, my maestro and teacher. He told me to work with
Perry writes for consortium, wrote for Consortium News.
Yes,
he's deceased now, right?
Yes, he's deceased. Yes,
he's deceased, and it was so sudden, and we miss him badly because his analysis was very clever. The guy who broke the story of Iran-Contras, the guy who exposed. On another hand, that story made Secretary John Kerry Secretary of State, because he was a very little known representative with a Vietnam experience. And that story, Iran-Contras, an investigation, the story bring him to Senate. And after that, we know to the State Department, and we know how he is responsible together with Obama for all that mess what happened in Ukraine under Obama.
How do you compare what you do, Igor, to Robert Perry? I mean, obviously, it's a different format.
I'm a student. I'm his student. He teach me how to dig deep and how to find what is not laying on the surface. Never trust the mainstream media, because mainstream media have an agenda. Narrative was crafted not by journalists, not by reporters, but people who own the outlets. And they commanding them what to do, how to craft it, and they very, very much love it. They think they masters of universe. They can shape the nation. They can change the border. They can make a regime change. It's all bullshit. They just
don't you and all documentary makers have an agenda also, but just a better one in some cases?
Of course, I have an agenda. When we discussed it with a great documentarian, Oppenheimer, who did Look of Silence, and he consulted me on Ukraine on Fire, how to make it not look like Eastern Germany propaganda. And I come to him and said, listen, I cannot be unbiased here. I'm choosing the side. He said, it's okay, Igor. That's your vision. You can choose the side. That's in my film, you cannot find balanced view, diversity, on all that bullshit. Because if I see Nazi, how I can give him a platform in my film? If I see the warmonger, why I need to repeat this warmongering rant in my movies? I'm standing for oppressed. I'm standing for people who is under much bigger, great power pressure, even if it's Russia, what is a great country, and under pressure from 50 countries who run in the war in Ukraine against Russia.
Have you ever heard Scott Adams talk about what he calls the documentary effect?
Mm-hmm. No.
Oh, are you familiar with Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert?
Yes.
Right. I actually have a clip, and I'm not doing this as a gotcha thing. I mean, but I do think he's making an interesting argument, and he basically considers, out of all different types of storytelling, documentaries are the least credible. And by that, I should let him explain. Let me just play this.
Here's what you need to know about documentaries. Number one, documentary is the lowest level of credibility of all media. Did you know that? If you have to pick one thing to not believe, it should be a documentary. Documentaries are not designed to give you both sides. They're designed to mislead you into thinking that the thesis is the only thing that matters. Do you think they show the other side? The documentary is the lowest of all forms of credibility. There's nothing lower than that. It's the number one least reliable information that is produced by humanity. Now you might say to yourself, Scott, fake news is worse than that. No, it isn't. It's not even close. Fake news has a competing news business. So if you want, you can look at the fake news and you can see the other argument. You can make your own decision. And the other argument isn't hidden that much. Even within our bubbles, you know you can just turn on Fox News or CNN and see the other side, right? But if you watch a documentary, are you going to go do your own research? Probably not. Probably not. Now, I'm not saying that all documentaries are incorrect. I'm not saying that. Surely some documentaries are totally correct. I'm saying that you can't tell the difference. So if you can't tell the difference, it's the lowest level of credibility at the highest level of persuasion, because they've got you for like an hour. If I can persuade you on anything and make you pay attention for an hour, I will convince you. Getting you to pay attention for an hour is the hard part. If I can get that, then the convincing is the easy part.
So he says it in a harsh way, Igor, you know, the lowest form of credibility. But aside from that sort of harsh tone choice of wording, is it much different than what you just said a couple of minutes ago?
Yeah, it's a different because documentary is a tool. Of course, it's a tool, but its living cycle is much longer than news, much longer. So look. Let's talk about exact particular documentary, Ukraine on Fire. So we're counting carefully audience, more than 40 languages, more than 8 years, give us a number around 600 millions watch that film, and 1.7, 2.2 a number of rewatching. So one of my friend, Lee Stranahan, when he was working, I believe in Washington, and before he gave the contribution for revealing Ukraine, he watched Ukraine on Fire and Stop and Go 9 hours just to double check every fact what we was using in the film. And he was so impressed. He told me, Igor, fuck, I cannot find one mistake in your movie. Your all facts, you know, I was accused about be a propagandist for Kremlin. We laugh with the Kremlin press people because they tell me, we hear that we pay you. I said, hey, yeah, I read it too. Where does the money go? Because I never receive it. So you need to double check. Yeah, but the problem with the documentary exists because I see a lot of documentary what work as a tool of propaganda. And only one thing's what making them different, longevity. When the film is withstand the years, what I'm a student, I'm a protege of my great teacher, Oliver Stone, and his films, and for example, A Natural Born Killer just will be celebrating 30 years, and it's still actual, it's still fresh, because media is still doing same shit, sensationalizations, sensations, and all that bars, and actually they encouraging the violence. Oliver was accused what his movie was encouraging violence was complete bullshit. His movie was dissecting that case and showing the audience what has happened. So the audience and longevity, that was Scott, with all my respect, do not take into the account. Yeah.
Well, I think he also got where you disagree, and I'm with you on this, is that he just assumes nobody's going to do research. That's what he said. Well, nobody's going to do research.
Wrong. That's completely wrong, because actually the film encouraged the people to do their own research.
Yeah.
That's what he was outlining in a film. That's what he was saying, that critical thinking skill is crucially important to stay informed. As Mark Twain said, and we citate that quote in the Ukraine on Fire, if you read in newspaper, you're misinformed. If you don't read it, you're not informed. So that's a both side because of nature of media. They looking for engagement.
Well, you said something before the show started. I was telling you that I had started watching Ukraine, the Everlasting Present, 30 Years of Independence, one of the, that's from 2021. I think that is, I don't know if that's exactly the next in the ongoing series on Ukraine. I think maybe it's the third.
I believe that's number 4.
Oh, it's number 4. Okay. But in there, you interviewed former Ukrainian President Viktor Yushchenko, yes, whom you said certain things before the show that he revealed. Now, he's been a darling of the neoconservative crowd. And what was really striking was you asked questions of him. He answered very straightforwardly. I don't even know how you got into that situation.
Oh, that's a very quite interesting story, what I want to share with your audience, because it was a detective story. So my interviewee and the interviewer was Simona Mangiante Papadopoulos, wife of my dear friend George Papadopoulos. And she knows nothing about Ukraine. This is why I choose her. She knows 5 languages, no Russian, no Ukrainian, of course. And she never was in Ukraine. So I need somebody who have zero knowledge about Ukraine, just to let them understand themselves. She come to the Kiev, she broke her shoes in the airport, and she recorded 11 interviews for 7 days, what was the official record of my filmmaking career, how much. And in the end, because we don't have a Viktor Yushchenko promise in the beginning, so what we did, we interviewed the Mr. Malamush, who was a military intelligence head of Ukraine, and he was singing like a nachtigall. Oh, singing. He did that. He broke the Soviet Union. He did this. He did that. And he was so much love how he is on camera saying all these fake stories. So I tell my line producer, please invite him one more time, because I know he has an ear of Yushchenko. We invite the guy one more time, tell him, you're saying such a great stories. We want to record more. We never use one frame in the film of Malamush. I still possess this recording. We don't use him. But after the second sessions, he come back to President Yushchenko, said, oh, that's a very good people. You need to give them interview. So we play out the head of military intelligence through the president, who was not on our side of story. And he reveals such a things. What is Ukrainian neo-nationalists? It's a practically angels. What Ukraine need a nuclear capacity to have a nuclear bomb, and so on and so on. Nobody actually accused me working for Yushchenko, but I was numerously time accused working for Putin, after that for Lukashenko, after that for Nazarbayev. I'm sure that I will be Ayatollah apologist and Ayatollah agents after this film. What I predicted, and I probably happened in a few weeks. As soon as mainstream media, especially people like Rachel Maddow, she accused me to bribery in the FBI director Kash Patel for my latest American documentary, All the President's Men, the conspiracy against Trump. They find out what was, of course, disclosed officially, because there was nothing to hide, that we pay money for Kash Patel to participate in our film. And as a regular basis, the compensation, you take 1 day of your time, you're sitting with us, you're distracted, so please. And this is contractual. And he reported it to Senate. And of course, the Russian propagandist, American company owned by Ukrainian American, who is naturalized in 2016 here, had nothing to do with Russia, never take any money from any government, because I have my own ethical principles, and who finance all my films, mostly from my own pockets, because I know how the industry is working. I know probably 40 different ways. When OCCRP, another outlet of the deep state, investigated me for my Kazakhstan documentary, and after that investigated our they did quite a big research, 7 different companies. Actually, you know what? OCCRP, it's criminals. That's criminal people funded by USAID under direct command from the State Department, was interfering abroad in the foreign policy of United States, what is prohibited, because it's a privilege of President of United States and the State Department only. So no private entity, nobody can do interference in the foreign policy of United States. They did. I think they're going to be investigated.
Interesting.
Good hope for that, because we work hard. Our colleagues reveal how USAID was funded more than 50% of OCCRP budget. But that's a criminal people. They do not only a hit job for State Department, they also do inside trading. They hit Adani Group. Adani suffered 100 billion in capital loss. Imagine, it's a crazy number. It's like a more than the 10 years budget of Kyrgyzstan, for example. 100 billions lost because of their reporting. And they shortening their stocks. I mean, they make money on this. So when when they published their reporting about Deutsche Bank in Heidelberg case, they shortened Deutsche Bank stock. So this not only hit journalists who taken the hit job on the command of State Department. They're making money, very dirty money on this. So this is why I'm talking about, I'm sure, quite sure I will be accused taking money from Ayatollah personally, probably in the 2 months or the like.
Well, I want to know how much is 1 day of Kash Patel's time worth? Are you willing to reveal the figure?
That's official business at 25K.
25K.
Yep.
Wow. This was before he was the FBI director?
Yeah, of course, before. Of course, before. Yeah. You cannot pay the official of United States. That's a bribery. But
man, you can get me. I'll do it for $500.
so that he can buy a better bottle of wine, maybe, Igor.
You put money into the camera work, I think. I mean, the thing that I was feeling the most about the trailer before is it was killing me that we have to stream in a lower resolution. Man, the colors are so gorgeous. Ilya Boyko is your director of photography. He did a great job.
Amazing man from Russia, whom I know personally. He did a tremendous job for the film. We was traveling. We was working on a land in Iran for more than 2 months, more than 2 years prepping, choosing locations, visiting them, receiving the permits. The big deal. Of course, I want to film the centrifuges in the Natanz or somewhere else, but it was impossible to get the permit. Imagine the American film director filming in Iran. This is unique for last 40 years. No one from American company film in Iran.
Well, you couldn't have known, for example, what was happening this year in Iran, the United States, the bombing, Israel, because you say you were working on this for 2 years. So your initial idea was that you were going to work on this film to prevent a war.
My initial driving factor to try to make something in Iran, because I see similarities, I see patterns with Ukraine. I study regime change operation tactics and strategy in Ukraine during the working on Ukraine on fire. And when I find out that's exactly same operations working in Iran differently, I was a big fan and supporter of Donald Trump. I voted for him 3 times. I'm a part of MAGA movement. I did a great TV series about that to help him. And we released it after election, because if I release it before election, not even me and Tucker Carlson will be blamed for Russian interference, of course. But I know that Iran issue will be a critical for Trump administration. And I know how badly our interest as a state will be harmed if we will go in another Iran war as a country. That's what I did, something to explain and to enlighten Americans about what is Iran is. Why every time when we are trying to regime change in Iran, it's backfire on us. What's happened with the coup with the Shah, when we installed him in 1953, TG Ajax operation by CIA. What's happened before, how Iran possess the history of 5,000 years choosing their leaders themselves, and why our approach without 250 years of experience of empire is just a meddling, like a toddler in a very serious business of serious old men. That's why I'm trying to make something what can at least to inform Americans about what is Iran. And one unique quality of the film, we film a lot of people on the streets. If you watch it, you see that faces, you see the people doing their own business. They not intervene. We're not asking them questions.
Is it correct that, just to interrupt you a second, I thought I saw some women not wearing head coverings on the streets?
Yes, it is possible. This is still like a little bit taboo. And this still law exists what prohibiting doing this, but they relax it much more lately. I was in visiting restaurants when the entire population, the entire females in the room was not wearing head covers.
And they were eating ice cream too. I noticed there was women eating ice cream in the movie.
Now we got to get them to legalize alcoholic beverages.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we need to teach them how to use our Western standards to enjoy the life.
But I've read that a lot of the people there drink it illegally. So it's not like a matter of us teaching them. It's a matter of enabling them to be free and to get high quality booze instead of having to make it.
Or why would we have to do anything with it, though?
Interesting things that in the Shia religion, the booze is not most important part of their religion visions. To be a martyr, that's the biggest and fastest way to Allah. But I know a lot of funny stories about booze in Iran. I never drink when I was in Iran. It's good. It's like a detoxing. I also have experienced some problems with using my social networks because it's totally disconnected from. But with decent VPN is working. What has surprised me that they want to live this way, and what is most interesting, they don't want anyone teach them how they live their life. And the nature of culture is so different than ours, because our culture is based on a Greek, all Western myth, all Western civilization based on a Greek myth. And they was exactly who was fighting with Greeks. And they was
Alexander the Great.
By Alexander the Great. This is why I come to my teacher, who is the greatest. He know probably more than anybody else in the film business about Alexander the Great because of his film. The Oliver prepping for the films very meticulously, very precisely to the little details. So I asked him question about Alexander the Great. Of course, he go to the nuclear weapon in the end. That's because his nature. He understand the history. He gave me advice to read that book. It is in the film. I bought it later. Rome and Persia. This is a 700 years story of rivalry. And
that's what Oliver Stone was recommending in the film, right?
Yes. I also have another book. It is not in the film, but that was suggested by Professor oh my God, Larajani. Dr. Larajani tell me this.
Hold that up a little bit more so we can see it. Going to Iran. That's just it. Going to Iran.
Going to Tehran.
Tehran.
Why United States must come to terms with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Great book. Amazing. And I believe I balance vision of Americans and Iranians on the subject, and it's a good film to watch, and it's quite interesting locations and the feelings. That's what the language of my film, because how you can tell the story of 5,000 years culture in 2 hours? It's impossible.
Well, I like the way you mixed together different elements. It almost has this, in a way, I don't mean to diminish what you did, but this is just like one element. It was almost like a travel film. I think that's one element of it. It's history also, and you're also making a political argument, and it all comes together.
Well, the
nicely.
bazaar, to your point, Jeff, the bazaar was incredible. But then you made the point that the Shah essentially was bringing in so many Western forces that the bazaar was getting shut down, destroyed, and culturally that was a center.
Yeah, that was a lot of mistakes what Shah did. First of all, he was completely disconnected from his people, and that's what's bring him down. And this is why when I saw the Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, pointed out on himself as a crown prince, I said,
recently, yeah,
come on, crown prince. Where is your throne? Where is your empire, kingdom? It does not exist. It is not throne. Throne, we're showing the throne in our film. And it's no Shah on this throne. And the Iranians all these 5,000 years, Persians choose their leaders by their own principles. And they have very, very developed, the Shahnameh book, what we mentioned in the Shahnameh by Ferdowsi. It's a great book about story of Shahs, story of Shah and Shahs, kings of kings. And this is a great story of history and struggle for, of course, for choosing the proper leader. And if leaders fail, they have enough capacity to uprise, as they did in 1979, after installed by CIA coup Pahlavi, and they throw him away. He ran away and died for 400 days in the United States. And by the way, the film is answering a lot of questions. I was visiting the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, what was featured in the Ben Affleck film Argo. But Ben Affleck film Argo is very much under CIA influence. There's like a whitewashing of CIA role in this conflict. It's the biggest tremendous fail of CIA, what they did. And the saving.
You think Ben Affleck himself is like directly dealing with the CIA, or is it more like above
100%. 100%. 100%.
I never
but
liked that.
It is a great book, National Security Cinema, what's covering how the state meddle into the Hollywood business. This is not like, direct conversation, some kind of, it's in a soundproofed facility in Langley.
It's like writing the scripts, actually.
They of course, correct. That's the script. That's if you write in the right script, so they allow you to use the government equipment for free. But the champion of this is Tom Cruise, by the way, because he's Maverick. Was a great film, amazing, unbelievable, great film. Was actually mentioned in Iran, but 300 million in equipment rent for free, and 200 million budget. Of course, you can do great. You have carriers, you have flying jets, and all for free. This is how CIA actually establishing control over the narrative.
So how does it work? Can you tell us a little bit more? Like maybe take the Ben Affleck film as an example. Is this like, does he have a relationship prior to the film with the CIA, or how does it work?
It will blow your mind. I recommend it to read this book, National Security Cinema, or National Security Hollywood. But how it's work? It is so deep penetration. What's even the anti-CIA, anti-manipulation film like The Wag the Dog was whitewashed by CIA operators. They whitewash it. They make it not so crisp. They make it like, more softer. That's working through the scripts. They're working through the in Pentagon, not only CIA, but CIA mostly work. Yeah, the National Security Cinema. This is it. Yeah, that book is described as in very little precise details, and they mention in the Argo and the others, like an American-made film about the CIA smuggling drugs from Nicaragua to United States. That's all with an active involvement of CIA operatives. We never will tell that they're very, very, with a very often used in the Hollywood last name Shapiro, producer. He is working for CIA, and nobody know that. And this is how they establish. I choose Shapiro name just bust by the commonality. Anyway, and this. Yeah, CIA is very much involved in a soft power of crafting not only inside of United States, but mostly outside. Because our products, Hollywood products, is very badly wanted abroad, excluding the China, who put the Iron Curtain on our films. And
you never know. We should have probably done a more extensive background check on Morgan before we added her to our roster here. Are you CIA, Morgan? Tell the truth. You're under oath.
No background check can reveal you. If it's classified, that's classified. That's like a submarine.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody know.
You'll know sooner or later.
Well, one thing that I found interesting in watching these different films between Ukraine on Fire and now the Iran Great Game. Of course, you have Dick Cheney plays a role in both. I believe Kuchma met with Cheney when he was Secretary of Defense under, I believe that's correct. I could be wrong about some of the names.
Kuchma was never Secretary.
No. When Dick Cheney was Secretary of Defense, Kuchma came to
Cheney never was a Secretary of Defense. He was Vice President. for Biden.
Under Bush Sr.
Under Bush Sr.
Under Bush Sr. in 1991, you had some of the Ukrainian leaders who were big into believing the stories of privatization, and we could become as prosperous as France if we just westernize all of these things. Of course, we know from Ukraine on Fire, Jeffrey Payette, who was the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, and Victoria Nuland, and their phone call about who they wanted to put in power. And then later, this blew my mind in the new film. Then he is at the IAEA to make the claim that Iran is building the nuclear weapon.
That's you have a sharp eye, Ryan. My applause, because exactly Payette's story about how he get that award to be on a spear of active operation of Dick Cheney nest in the State Department, CIA, into Ukraine. He was show great results with International Atomic Energy, building the case what Iran is building the nuclear weapon. What have exactly same proof when a Secretary of Defense, Colin Powell, showing to the United Nations, there's a little white powder in the little.
This was the yellow cake.
No. They're showing not a yellow cake. They're showing something else because yellow cake is right. Yellow.
I was thinking it was actually cake. I was waiting for the cake.
Come on, because there's nothing wrong with yellow cake. Iran has their own uranium. It's easy to produce yellow cake. It's just bright yellow and nothing but. It's like a very to media love that yellow cake. Blah,
right,
blah.
exactly.
I have a story and revealing in Kazakh the history of the Golden Man, how Russians forget 400 or 600 kilos of highly enriched uranium, 92%, in Kazakhstan. And the people in the plant, they find out, and the president was calling the president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin, said, "Listen, you guys forget something. You want to get it back?" Said, "No. We don't need it. Keep it." So they transferred it to United States. It was a special operation called Sapphire, and Lugar Commission was supervising this. Very much clandestine operation. 600 kilo, it's enough to make 17 devices, like a Hiroshima capacity, even more.
Kind of like the wine grapes. If it's over 75%, it's pure uranium.
You can enrich uranium up to 99%. I was filming on a nuclear testing site in Kazakhstan called Semipalatinsk when Soviet Union blew 456 nuclear devices and H-bomb as well, hydrogen. So I know how devastating this. And Iran has capacity to produce the bomb. What is do not mean that they're gonna pierce this goal, because in Iran, producing the weapon of mass destruction is a haram, prohibited by religious fatwa. Because they say it's very good explanation by Lara Jani in my film why it is haram, because it's killing the heart of earth. This means not only killing the people, but killing everything, infrastructure was people using for living. And making life is impossible. And this is why Iran, to proceed, what I posted recently today on Twitter, that the Iranian parliament looking on withdrawal from non-proliferation agreement. I still believe they do not make this decision, because we actually forcing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. We're forcing them, showing them example of Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein. Look on Kim Jong-un, little guy, smart kid of his great-granddad. He studied in Switzerland, by the way. He make the bomb, he make the vehicle of delivery, and he is untouchable now because everybody know his ICBM can reach California, and we're not playing shit with him because he's armed. We're not playing this with Russia, with all this dynamic, all this rhetorics, what's European doing about Ukraine. We know, and everybody know, and President of United States know we're dealing with a nuclear superpower.
But Igor, Scott Ritter said that IAEA is guilty of helping Israel with their conflict with Iran. I just brought up Jeffrey Payat and his role. I mean, it sounds like you've made the same discovery, maybe independently with what you've been looking at. Would you say that that's the case now, that the international institutions that are supposed to be fair and so forth are?
It's not fair. That first of all, EIA, the establishment, was a part of international dealing to allow everybody who is subject for non-proliferation agreement to use a nuclear energy as a beneficial tool of civil development. So if you're signing non-proliferation agreement, you have access to nuclear technology, you can build a reactor, you can generate energy, but do not go into the obtaining nuclear capacity. And this is why International Atomic Energy is supposed to be a tool of control of non-proliferation, but they share in intelligence with Mossad. So that's like, that's actually completely killing their credibility, because nobody can trust after that International Atomic Energy anything. Russia was so open for non-proliferation. They established the cameras inside of very special facility in Arzamas 16, very close town. When they combining, they building up final completion of thermonuclear warheads for the nuclear triads. They established the camera and they gave access to Americans. This is how Russia was open for control. And what we did, we just throw the Russia and kick the Russian ass into the arms of China. Because even, the stupidity of this Dick Cheney nest, and the biggest bird in that nest is, of course, Victoria Nuland. But they violating even the principle of they mighty God is big, Brzezinski, who formulated our biggest goal in Eurasia was being not allowed to emerge a new superpower. Bam, they do in Ukraine. And they push in Russia to unite with China and to build a new superpower in Eurasia. It's a complete stupidity that people don't know what they're doing. And Obama foreign policy was don't do stupid stuff. They did every possible mistake in the foreign policy. They were so dumb that they believe that Ukrainians want the democracy. What the shit? I'm Ukrainian. There's nobody want democracy. They want money to survive. That's what they want. And for that money, they will do everything. They will play every trick. You see how much money we give them for free?
Right, we own basically every office, every government agency in Ukraine now.
We not only own, we finance their teachers, we finance their doctors, we finance their pensions, we finance everything, including the organizing the funerals. So this is how badly we are in the mess. Because they already believe that we will do that forever. They will do that forever. And like how Ukrainians making themselves rich. I will leave in this to bloggers. They will expose everything. Zelensky built like more than $1 billion only in real estate. They was ready to cash out. They actually cash out in the February of 2022 an amount of $1 billion from Ukraine. They sell the bitcoins. They do that through the cryptocurrency. And the cryptocurrency, that was a way of kickbacks from Ukraine back to the people who are arranging them allowance. And that allowance, that's now working in Europe very much, because that bureaucrats who financing the war in Ukraine, they not working for their people, they working for their pockets. They just receiving very good kickbacks from Ukraine. This is why they pushing the money. And it's nothing.
How do you see the Russia-Ukraine conflict ending? I guess right now the latest I heard is it looks like there's not even going to be a meeting between Putin and Zelensky.
So there's nothing to meet about, because the different conditions. Russia announced their terms in the very beginning. They tell the security of Russian Federation, because it's no NATO, small army, friendly to Russian language, and not look neutral. That's it. It's enough. If you, and no Nazi rhetoric, no Nazi, and Nazi, like, prosecuting Nazi for real, for as a criminals, as it in Russia. But then nobody talking, nobody listening to that. Everybody listening about Ukraine security. What is Russia security? Not on the table. Until this, people will not come to this conclusion. We need to understand that Russia has legitimate request of security, and they will use the deadly force to achieve it. That will be continuation of this. And Russians, you know what? In my film, Alistair Crook, who was a great mind, and amazing, by the way, intelligencer, because he was a MI6 in the area of Middle East for more than 30 years. Mm-hmm. What he famous is that he was the first man who arranged the Hamas and Mossad sitting in one table to negotiate the peace through his NGO, what we see around from Lebanon. But Alistair Crook tell me something. The Obama built an industrial scale of media manipulation system, not only in the United States, but around the world. During the Obama time, that system emerged in the full glory, and now they don't need a real victory on a battlefield. They need just a victory in the media. What we are seeing with President Zelensky, greatest victory all the time, they presenting every new kind of weapon as a Wunderwaffen. Now it is the latest one is a Flamingo.
Flamingo, that's right. I heard that one.
I wrote about this in my Twitter about my first degree is rocket science, and look on this and say, oh my God, I know the engine. This is a AI ATL-25, what they produce in Zaporozhye and the Motor Sich. That engine is not costly, like a 200K only, and everything else is just simple electronics from the drones and the engine and a warhead, like an old Russian bomb, repurposed as a warhead for the rocket. But problem that plant, in the best case in Russia, the Soviet Union, was producing 2,000 that kind of engines per year. Now the capacity of this plant in Zaporozhye is produce only 15. So don't fuck my mind. You cannot produce 7 rockets a day. You cannot, simply because if plant producing engines 15 per year, okay, you can take it from Great Britain as a tool, combine it in Ukraine, and present it as your own Ukrainian rockets. That's what mostly the case in this Flamingo shit. But for Russian air defense, it's not a problem. Of course, they will. Some of them will hit targets, but it's not a problem because the principle of this war is war of attrition. Now, as Scott Ritter, your friend, is outlining this very principle, and the principles of war of attrition. This is not immediate. As maintaining the pressure what allow you to break through immediately as soon as your counterpart is falling down, and we see that already. So they toss in the resource from Kharkov to Sumy, from Sumy to Donetsk, because they have a shortage of manpower. They hunting people. They hunting people on the streets of Ukraine. Every day you see the new video how they tossing the people in minivan and they're running there and taking. They opened the border for kids younger 21 now can live. That's 11,000 live in the first day. So that's 10 million of your population lost for this war from 2022. That's giving Ukraine estimated number of 20 million. And this losses 1.7 million. That's practically very much cross-referenced from different sources. So that's a real losses. And that's how Ukraine in the disastrous situation every day will be just increasing the superiority of Russia on a battlefield. Doesn't matter what's going to happen in media. In media, we'll see totally different picture.
Well, I hear what you're saying, that Russia has been clear and consistent from the beginning about what its demands are, and that there's no point in Zelensky and Putin meeting. But do you have any vision at all of how this ends?
Yep. I believe that will be end in a peace. And in returning of Ukraine, one way or another, under Russian umbrella of influence. Better if somebody understand it and outline it, it will be speed up the process. But if the resistance going through the hard way, and Ukrainians choosing the hard way. Why? Because all the entire government of Zelensky depend on this war. If it's no war, there's no money to pay the teachers, to pay the pensions, to pay the government. There's no money to exist because the Ukrainian economy is practically ceased to exist in 2023. And now Russians will make sure that Ukrainian energy sector will cease to exist in this winter. They will probably keep Ukrainian energy generation on a 20% of capacity just to cover immediate needs of population. Because this is not a war against the Ukrainian people, because Ukrainians, these are Russians who speak a little bit different dialect, but mostly speak Russian, have same faith, same culture, same language. It's very hard because it is not war in Iraq. It is not our way of waging the war as Americans abroad. Because, you cannot bomb the Kiev-Pecherska Laura because this is the holy sacred place for everybody in Russia, because Kiev was mother of all Russian cities.
Right.
Again, this is not the occupation of Ukraine. Russia has such a big territory. Nobody knows that. That's how Tucker Carlson asked President Putin about, Russia need a different territory. Come on, dude, we have a biggest country in the world. We have a lot of territories. But Russia can't stand the genocide, what Ukraine was planning and in Donbass. And 40,000 killed. If Ukraine go on the plan, and they was prepping for this plan, and cutting off the Crimea, completely out of communication with Russia, they will put Russia in a very, very little nuclear war in the mid of 2023. So to avoid it, President Putin chose conventional conflict and step in Ukraine. That's hard decision. I know he take it very seriously because I know that Putin, from my personal meetings with him, as a very restrained, very responsible person who is very, very in a cold mind, weighing all possibilities. He's not driven by emotion. He's not driven by religious beliefs. He's driven only by pragmatic and very, very responsible decisions. That's what's giving him the great opportunity. This is, I believe, why Donald Trump loved him so much, because we see that it's really bromance. It's like, they fall in love.
And even Witkoff recently was quoted. I saw, maybe he had spoken with Tucker Carlson earlier, but he said the smartest people went to the KGB, so he didn't see that as a horrible thing. He said he's the smartest guy, literally, in the country that could be in that position.
The problem with that the head of CIA was a president of United States, I mentioned in the old Bush. And as well, of course, CIA is not a bunch of idiots. It's a bunch of very smart people. The problem is, did they have a moral principle? What is restraining them from horrible actions? I know from Tucker. Tucker just recently announced the new documentary about 9/11. I believe that will blow the mind of a lot of Americans here, because to understanding that CIA was hiring the pilots who hit that towers in New York, that will be big.
And our friend Ryan Dawson just made a new film also about yeah. So let me ask you a personal question, Igor. You live in Los Angeles, right?
Beverly Hills, exactly, yes.
Beverly Hills specifically, okay. Could we have the exact address so we can come up with? No, I'm just kidding. But,
that guy from Mother Jones, David Cord, he knocked on my door recently. He was very shocked, by the way, because he don't know that my dog is passed away. If dog will be around, the dog will tear him apart. He was asking me questions when I take the money to pay Cash Patel.
I like David Corn even less than I like Ben Affleck. But what I was getting at is, you were, portraying yourself as a very independent guy. You're financing your own films. The way you operate is sort of the antithesis of Hollywood. But yet you are living in that environment. And I've lived in Southern California for many years, so I'm very curious, what's your circle of friends like? Do you have a lot of people in show business? What's it like for you to live there?
Yeah, you'll be surprised, but I have a lot of friends in the current our major players, because we know each other for our films. So I was awarded a few times by the exactly same people. And John Voight, when he was presenting me award for my The Wheel of Victory documentary, my first documentary in 2011, he was saying, Igor, I'm a head of jury. I cannot watch other films. Your films strike me so much. It was about World War II. We colorized the footage when we did the
Is it the only old men?
No. This is an old Soviet-style film, very good, what I restored. But my first documentary was The Wheel of Victory. It's available on I believe, somewhere in Amazon. And that film was done because Americans forget who fight against Nazi, who take this 27 million losses in this war. And when President Trump bragging that we won this war, sorry, but the history is facts showing totally different winners. And yeah, we was in coalition with Russia. We was fighting. We helping Russia. We helping with the Lend-Lease. A big help to Russia was paid off completely. And it's funny, when the last payment for the Lend-Lease accounts was done during the Gorbachev time in the beginning of 90s. So this is overall 4% of all material supplies that Russia used in the war against the Nazi Germany, and everything else was a Russian Russian domestic production. Yeah, but anyway, why this documentary is important? Because documentary giving us time to dive deep into the history. This is why we dive in every our film. We're trying to give some education to our audience. We're going to present them historical contents of this, why in this context it is important to pay attention to this, why in giving this time, 2 hours of time, of our precious time of audience, we're trying to entertain them. We're telling the story what they probably never heard, and they love to see that. And that's in the art of storytelling. And Hollywood is very different place. It's not structured. This is not such, I'm proud that I'm standing out of Hollywood as well as my teacher. And probably my biggest reason why I'm still in Beverly Hills, because my teacher is Oliver. My proximity to him is very much important.
Oliver Stone, yeah. And he's in there. We should tell the audience that he is in the film quite a bit. It's an interesting technique. You're sitting in what looks to be like his office. Is that his office where you're talking? Yeah.
His office and his home, yeah.
Yeah. And instead of having like a very formal kind of interview and or voiceover, you're just chatting with him. He's very articulate and very knowledgeable. So and plus he's famous. So I think that will help make the film more palatable to the casual viewer, as will what I was saying before, that it's almost like a travel film in the sense that you see a lot of Iran and it's shot beautifully. Yeah, I wanted to violate copyright laws and this. I really loved the scene shot on this bridge. But I couldn't get my screen recorder to work. But I wanted to show this. I wanted to show this scene when they were sitting. This is like what you shot in the film is like 100 times better than what we can see in this picture. And that's what I was thinking of, like, as far as drinking alcohol goes. That's what I thought of, those little nooks and crannies in there where the people were gathering. It was like, oh,
singing.
my God.
No, it was incredible. And then they were actually sitting on parts of the waterway underneath. It was really incredible.
Yeah. So the only thing missing was just setting up a table and having wine. That's what I was thinking.
When I was walking on this bridge, and you see there's no any security measures, you just can step and drone. So I was so scared because I'm looking at the camera and I don't look on my under my legs. I said one step and I will be down in the river and under the bridge, and it's a very, very fast. I said in America it's never will probably happen, because as America it's like impossible. It probably will lead to huge litigation and lawsuits against the government and municipal. And I said, probably there's nothing happened here. And after that, we finish filming and I see the ambulance come with somebody actually. But this bridge is also interesting because it's the first catharsis in our film. And we're using amazing poetry of Nashi Puri Attar Nashipuri. Nashipuri, this town, and Attar, he was a teacher of Rumi, and I have a book about him. He was a great Sufi who, and when my editor put this part of poetry, and it's like, asking for forgiveness for all the sins what we commit during the life. This was given a natural first catharsis in the film. And if audience do not love Iran culture until this moment of my movie, what is exactly in the 37 minutes, I waste my time. But if they love it, they will listen to the story. So my technique was very simple. First of all, to show the history, show the all beauty of Iran, all difference of this culture, and produce it in a very gentle way to try to engage with audience, try to see the beauty and the long, long, long time of history. And after that, come to some political discussions, because talking about this and mentioning about that, and it's worked very well.
Well, I definitely, like Jeff, after seeing the film, I definitely said, oh man, I want to go and see these places. Isfahan, you went through some of these
Shiraz.
Really mind-blowing locations that I've only heard about. Washington Irving, I think, in early American history, wrote about some of these places. But to bring it back to one thing, I know Morgan has...
tone it down, Morgan. You're dominating too much.
Well, no, I just wanted to point out, Morgan, the video that you were going to show dropped off. You need to load it up again. So to sort of set that up, Hassan, our friend, is in Iran, and I brought up Stephen Witkoff, whom he is not so positive on, and I'm bringing him up to ask you, Igor, because I can't tell. It seems like with regards to Russia, he's doing a very good job.
And there's a new interview out with Tucker Carlson and Witkoff.
Well, that's right. I was quoting a moment from that earlier, and I haven't seen that yet myself. But then he's also doing these dialogues between Israel and Iran, or the United States and Iran, I should say. So what is your estimation of his work?
I praise Steve Witkoff's work very highly. Because, I judging this from the point of Bible, the blessed, the peacemakers who will have the heaven kingdom. Because every attempt to prevent hostilities, to prevent a war, must be prized. And Witkoff doing exactly this. And he had nothing for that. He had no reason to do that. It's only his realization as a human being. He believes in God, and this is why he doing the right things. He doing the right things with Russia, and he doing the right things with Iran, even if Iranians do not like that sometime. Because to understanding what I suggestion for our State Department people and the CIA to stop employing the tactic of domination and try to employ a tactic of understanding. Because understanding, this means studying. Yes, we study Shia and Sunni difference so much, we play them carefully against each other. That people from West Point, from Harvard, from Yale, they know difference of Shia and Sunni very much good. They study Karbala, they know how Shia emerged, and they understand. But from my personal perspective, as a filmmaker, Iranians is very naive. And it's easy to offend them because they standing for their principle for real. Don't drink alcohol. That's the real principles in Shia. But the biggest principle in Shia, that's to be a martyr, to sacrifice their life to please the God. What is practically impossible to understand. But we as a Christians, I'm an Orthodox Christian and wearing the cross. By the way, when first time meet Tucker Carlson and tell him I'm a Christian, he said, "Did you wear in the cross?" I said, "Yes, show me." That was
show the receipts.
a great experience with Tucker, and we pay for the dinner in cash. He said, "Oh, you carried the cash? Can I look at the cash?" And yes.
Hey, we have a question for you, Igor, from one of our regular viewers, Somerville John. He lives in South Carolina. He wants to know, do you think that if the Trump should get the Nobel Prize, or maybe it should be Steve Witkoff who gets the Nobel Prize?
Oh, give him a prize. Give him everything what can please him, because his ego is only biggest problem for him. His ego is paramount, tremendous, shining, on the top of the world. So to feel himself good, he need to have acknowledgement of his achievements. For that reason, is to please the Donald Trump, giving him this prize, what was invented and funded by people who produced a dynamite, what is explosive.
Right.
What is not such a good credibility for me, what is a Nobel Prize for what? Nobel Prize, they give a Nobel Prize for such a people, so they believe Donald Trump already exceeded all limitations. He want to have a prize. Give him that prize. If he will be behaving as a peacemaker for that more, that's a good tool.
I mean, they gave Obama the prize and he didn't do anything.
Okay, but Obama killed more people than previous president. Obama was... it is very different perspective of how Iranians look on the Americans, especially on Steve Witkoff, and how Americans, and especially our people, look on that exactly same people. So I believe comparing this Witkoff to Lindsey Graham, or even to my friend Rudy Giuliani, who is championing the regime change in Iran, I believe the Witkoff is won 10 Nobel Prize because he's talking. But the problem if it's not a subject of my film, we touch it very little because of Israel problem and the Israel mentality problem. In the very end of film, we tell him, because it is not Iran who started bombing Tel Aviv. That was Israel who started killing the people. And as Alistair Crook predicted, we recorded the last interview with him in May 6 in Tehran.
Mm-hmm.
I was for the film festival in Sobh. And he told me, Igor, they will not go for the army. That will be not full-blown invasion. They will go after the heads. They will kill Islamic Revolutionary Guards heads. They will probably kill Ayatollahs. They will kill generals. They will kill commanders. And he said on the May 7 of 2025, on the 14th of June, that's exactly the same happened. So Israel go after the heads. So Alistair is a smart guy. I advise everybody to follow him. He is a great analytical mind who want the peace, because he look on this abyss. He know how deep is abyss and how dangerous that's abyss. In preventing us all to slide into this is why I urge an audience to look on Amazon Prime, Iran the Great Game, and watch it. If you love Ukraine and Fire, if you love my previous works, you will love that film. I did my best. I try to entertain and to tell the story twice, at the same time.
And it's just $2.99 for crying out loud. $2.99. And you see, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. Hey, you mentioned that Trump has a big ego, and Morgan's X handle there is anti-ego driven. So that's something that's on our minds on an ongoing basis. But I wanted to just ask you about Oliver Stone, because I know that you know him well. He's a famous guy. My impression of him is he doesn't have a huge ego, at least in certain ways. What can you tell us? What's Oliver Stone like to hang out?
The first, I believe that Oliver Stone, first of all, he practiced in Buddhism for more than 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
He is working, he understanding very much as a director, as a film director, how to manipulate emotion. And he using this for the good cause. He using this to make our society better. This is very, very unpleasant work, because nobody will love you. Everybody will curse you. Everybody will call you names. But people who understand that if you're not checking your government sitting over your shoulder and doing whatever they want, and you, to be a patriot, that's to love the country all the time. It's a Mark Twain word, but not government, only when government deserve it. So the Oliver Stone, it's the biggest check for our government and all wrongdoing what our government did. Starting from killing the Kennedy or invading Vietnam or invading Iraq, and now planning to invade Iraq. Yes, Oliver changed over years. Yeah, he did better. He voted for Trump.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Well,
if
what he did with the
either.
Kennedy film, JFK, really, it's what, to go back to the very beginning, it was almost like a documentary in the sense that it has, for the most part, stood the test of time. What he said there, and I know that recently he said that there's a few things that he wanted to put in the film that he could not, but I don't see that he's actually changed and said, I would have done that differently.
I want him to direct the movie what he want to direct. That's I believe he will direct few future films soon, because we're all waiting for Oliver taking a break from documentaries and going back to the features, because his features is all the time the masterpieces, 20s of them, and 20s of masterpieces. And I love the guy. He teach me a lot. He threw Ukraine on Fire final cut after 6 months of work in the trash can, figuratively, and said, tomorrow in the editing room, you and editors, and we sit with Alexis Chavez and me, and we did Ukraine on Fire in his way, like a 30 minutes of his editorial guidance, much more straighter, much more simpler, because my chaotic mosaics was not working for the audience, and he did it better. That's why I very much appreciate his input in my career. He forced me to direct. I was a producer before. I never have an idea to direct Ukraine on Fire. Oliver tell me, you're going to direct it because you have a passion, you're Ukrainian, you know that story better than anybody else. And when we screened him around the great game, and I was expecting something like, some good words, he said totally opposite. He said, oh, bullshit, shit, you never sell it. You will never put it even on Amazon, on YouTube. Nobody going to watch it. And he explained me why. And I was very, very proud, because that's not about what he's saying. That's about he's still caring about me. He's still wanting me to do better.
Oh, good.
No matter how good I am already, the matter taking care about his protege, that's giving him advice what is not all of other people can say. But
I would like to ask one thing, Igor, before we go too long. Next, of course, you're just now launching this film, but I would ask that you would make The Whiners your official launch for every new film that you do, that you first come here.
I love that very, very friendly conversation that we have, and very, with a big interest to the subject. That's very, very rare. Now, current.
And Morgan was having internet problems. I think it's okay now. Morgan, do you want to jump in here while your internet's working?
We're going a little too long.
Igor, do you have a couple more minutes? Because Morgan did have something that was.
Go ahead. Yes.
Go ahead, Morgan.
I was going to get your take on this. You did this film, and it's a very timely time to put it out there. You have a lot of the what happened in June, and then you have Benjamin Netanyahu going on a podcast tour now, and now he's talking about different ways on how we need to, now that the nuclear question is kind of put to the side because we were supposed to have annihilated the facilities, there's a different tactic that we need to take in order to push for regime change in Iran. So I wanted to play this clip on how he wants to portray that and kind of get your take on it.
Developing now ballistic missiles that can reach deep into the heart of Europe. Their plan is to develop, the next thing is an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile that will reach 8,000 kilometers. You add another 3,000 and they can reach New York. Where are you broadcasting, by the way?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yeah, they can reach Florida, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Washington, Boston, and after that, any other city in the United States. And they intend to put nuclear warheads on these ballistic missiles. So this is a fact. And the main fact that I want to say is that we're fighting in many ways the war of the West, the war of Western civilization against these barbarians. And our victory will be your victory.
Wow.
These barbarians paid for the second temple built in Jerusalem. Nobody know that, but Parthians was source of finances to build the second temple in Jerusalem. If you don't believe me, do the check. And these barbarians have nothing to do with the Jewish population. If it's a Jew, they have something to do with State of Israel policy, what is exactly dominance. And the problem here lay not with Iranians. Problem lay in Tel Aviv, because they built their state on I'm gonna say now, and we're gonna blame myself for that. They built their state on a careful understanding of their supremacy. And they not even hiding this. They said, we got chosen people, we're gonna rule, you're gonna obey. And that's everywhere in their beliefs. So these things not gonna fly with, and I know that a lot of maniacs and a sect who want to rebuild the third temple as soon as possible. They have all materials ready. They sacrificed already this red cow. That's not
red heifer.
Yeah,
they did already sacrifice. That means they ready to build the third temple. And they playing this also with Trump. They calling him God chosen to protect Israel, because there's nobody in the Bible was knowing about this kind of state as in Israel. And it's the Palestinians is much more Semitic people than the Ashkenazi. That's a true fact. Sorry. There's a lot of DNA research showing that the similarity was Palestinians much closer to original people populated the area.
Than Polish or Ukrainian or...
I see that Ted Cruz interview for Tucker, I was laughing because the people are so very little educated. They believe the serving military industrial complex of United States and presenting this as a serving Israel because it's good to pay for Israel defense. All this war, in the very end of our film, we give the very, very few numbers. How all this war, starting from Afghanistan, when we, in the 25 years, after the 25 years and a couple of trillions spent, we changed the Taliban to Taliban. Or how we destroyed Libya and unleashed the chaos in this country. How we fight for regime change in Syria, and now there's a famous leader of Syria, is called bloody terrorist, who's killing Christians in a huge amount, persecuting everyone, and they forcing them to unbelievable. And how actually Israel ran the genocide operation in Gaza. And I'm sorry, but treating this as a real estate deal, this is not good enough. This is not humanity. This is not a high level of spiritual or moral understanding of nature of this conflict. This is just a great game to build the greater Israel. This is but this deserves another film. This is why we not go into the Israel questions too much. But I was sitting in one restaurant in Tehran, and they have no alcoholic cocktails, but they have hookah. They all smoking hookah, and the hookah bar was run by a Jewish person with all the paces and they're all in the kippah. And I also go to synagogue in Tehran. I decided do not film in the synagogue because I was afraid to interrupt the religious service. With my respect to the people who gather in to talk to the God, and my film camera will disrupt it. So, but it was two synagogues in Tehran. So that means there's nothing to do with the Jewish population, the Jewish religion. It's only the terrorist policy of Israel's state killing the people abroad. This is an act of terror.
You make me think about when you talk about Israel, we've talked about Ukraine. There was a debate that I was having with this congressman on X who was praising Anne Applebaum's book on the Holodomor. And I think about how it's that and the way that the Israelis are using Holocaust, very similar to trigger people. Do you see that there's any similarity there?
They copycat
politically even.
Yeah, they copycat the methods. But you know what's talking about Holodomor event in Ukraine? My own family survived that, and they said, yeah, that was a famine in 1934, because and it was much bigger famine in 1946. There's nobody in Ukraine explaining if Stalin definitely want to kill Ukrainians by starving them to death, bloody dictator, why they also killed the people in the Volga River in the area in Kazakhstan and even in the Caucasus country. Why? If it was, and you know, Stalin was a smart guy. He understand at this time the rising Germany will sooner or later fight Soviet Union. So to killing his mobilization potential, so his human resources, what is not smart move for him.
Right.
Destroying the millions. No, and they inflated numbers 7 times, because if their numbers was reached on the top of this insanity up to 10 million people killed, but there's about 20 million people live in Ukraine this time. So it's such an amazing, because the real numbers is closer to 1.4, 1.6. And it was interesting, that was debunked by the American journalist who visited Soviet Russia and who studied the case and who published that. And it was immediately, now it's a completely shadow banned. You need to dig very deep.
Walter Duranty.
And other names. That was a great names of American journalists who see that on their own eyes. Yeah, that was a problem with the management in the Soviet Union agriculture industrial business, because they were so advanced in industrial agriculture business that Americans visit them to study their experience. Producing the agriculture products in a huge amount and an industrial scale level was nothing to see in America this time. So they watched in the Soviet Union doing this experiment. And the second one, that was a badly disease in the wheat, and this affect a lot. And also is a mismanagement to selling that seeds. And that's all lead together with interestingly fact coinciding with that a joint, the company would help you Jewish population to be relocated from places to places, was banned on this time. And suddenly they find out the joint was only one source of spare parts for the tractors, for agriculture machinery, John Deere's and others exported mostly from the United States. And that joint was banned and parts was stopped flowing, and a lot of machinery was just simply stopping. So it's a very interesting subject, deserves to be studied in a film, how Ukrainians use it as a propaganda tool, how they elevate it to blame the Russia and to blame in atrocities what was never happened.
And also to not talk about what the British did in 1943 with the Bengal famine in India, which they certainly don't like to talk about that. Speaking of the great game, the British, they killed lots of people over their entire existence.
I believe that British Empire competing with the Russian Empire, that was something personal, because they both belong to the one bloodline. And they competing to be who is the biggest descendants from the Byzantium Empire. That was actually lead Brits in such a harsh competition with. If you look on the Nicholas II, I know that because it's a part of my family story. The Nicholas II look very much like George V, because they were cousins and they were same face looking. And this is an interesting story, because it's led us to the Byzantium, and the Russia as a third Rome claim the direct tradition from Byzantium, especially in the Orthodox religion. And Great Britain was claiming as a descendants from the Roman Empire. And actually we see that in the current Washington. We also think we are a Roman Empire. Yes, but Roman Empire exists 600 years, 700 years. It's interesting that Iran and Parthians never bowed to Rome. Yeah, that's the same people, you know. And how British compete. This is why when I got the Alistair Crook, who was an MI6 guy and who was the finest part of MI6, because that was a lot of people in MI6 who we can say that's an enemy of United States. Chris Steele, one of them, the guy who bring that dossier.
Russiagate.
Yeah, Russiagate was starting with a very much, he was not working for MI6 at the time, but MI6 was spying on Trump because they do it under direct command of Obama, because as a big five, big I, they can do surveillance on the territory of United States without violation of our rules. So that's what they use. They use it. And that will be a lot of revelation lately about this, how foreign powers was interfered. And it was not Russia. It was only everybody, but not Russia. That was funny. But yeah, the great empire, and as Alistair said, the great game is over. The great game diminished to the one simple rule to take off the Trump. Because Europeans is desperately want only one thing, to prevent that guy from disrupting the establishment operations. And they still can't do that. And I believe it's something here what must be carefully considered as a God will, because, you know, we are in such a dangerous proximity to the unimaginable. So we need to be very careful, especially playing with the fire. That's what's happened with Ukraine. And that's remind me that's, you know, Ukraine cost us dearly. And if Iran will start, that will cost us much more.
Well, one thing I want to say before we close off the show for the evening is that, of course, it's always the name of the game to promote whatever is the newest work. But the audience should know that Igor has a very extensive and impressive body of work. In the opening, we showed the trailer to his film about the Hunter Biden laptop controversy. We were talking about Ukraine on Fire, but there's also a second film on Ukraine you made.
Well, in Ukraine, yes.
In general, can people find your work on Amazon Prime Video? Or
Type Igor Lopatonok on Amazon, and they can see all films what Amazon carrying on by me, done by me, especially documentary. And and Amazon is only not carrying the Revealing Ukraine. What is can be found on Rumble, and Revealing Ukraine, it's continuation of Ukraine on Fire, and it's still censored. They still shadow banned because it is showing all. We were done this a long and very, very painful Ukrainian saga. And the Requiem for Ukraine, what is Hunter's Biden laptop? Why is Requiem for Ukraine? Because that's showing how criminal family of Biden use Ukraine. Right. And now that's when the Trump saying this is a Biden war. That's not only Biden war. It was a Biden enterprise.
Well, also they wanted to impeach Trump over just saying, "Hey, it'd be nice if you investigate him," as if that's some as if like there's no notion previously that there's a lot of corruption in Ukraine. So weird. I don't know if I'd call it the perfect phone call as Trump calls it, but it doesn't seem like an impeachable offense to me.
I believe that we are carrying the burdens of responsibility for every outside of United States regime change in Medellin, what we did with more than 70, and most of them successful. And Senator McCain, another warmonger who was actually the master of Lindsey Graham, he was praised Ukrainian revolution coup, actually, as the biggest achievement of his life. Biggest achievement of his life. Okay, that's closing to like $500 billion already, and probably will cost more for restore Ukraine to rebuild it. But this, if it's achievement, this is not reason to run war for economy. From economy perspective, war. I asked that Jeffrey Sachs, who is a great economist, and great mind in the war and peace and geopolitics. And he said me, no, Igor, this is not reasonable. And if you ask, for example, Grok or ChatGPT, how compare the investment in a weaponry and investment in infrastructure, that's very clever answer. Investment in roads, education, hospitals give much bigger return of investment, much bigger coefficient of employment of people working in these businesses than producing the weapons, because actually weapons blown up in the air. And that's destroying of wealth. So that investing in a military industrial complex and prepping for the war have no economical advantage against investing in infrastructure. And all that wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, and now facing probably a war in Iran, cost us trillions of dollars. That's what we paid, you and me, from our taxes. Because nobody in the Pentagon or in Washington, nobody pay their own money. We pay that as a taxpayers. We are robbed. They rob us. Running this war, they're robbing us. This is why the middle class in America is declining. This is why, because that endless war. This is why, give him a Nobel Prize, give him another prize. That's just business as usual to run in a war abroad. And pay attention to Venezuela, because it is not going to happen lightly. The development is not good.
Right.
Yeah. In the Bay of Pigs, we miserably failed in Cuba, and we failed practically in every our intervention. Such a big failure in Iran, tremendous failure in Afghanistan. Every war that we run, we not win. Every war. We win, in the Salvador or Panama. That's when we win. Small country. Very sad.
All right, well, we're going to hang out with you in Beverly Hills, right?
Okay, anyway, I spend it less time than abroad. I mostly spend the time on my film sets, traveling the world. But coming back to home, and I proudly called it home, and proudly wave American flags from in front of my house. And
don't burn that flag. There's a new executive order out there.
In my inner moral standards, burning the flag is something impossible to do.
Well, we have a duty to turn the United States back to its original principle of being an anti-imperial republic and a friend, good neighbor of other countries. So I think that your work, Oliver Stone's work, I think here on the Whiners, we can participate in that too. So we definitely appreciate it, Igor. Stick around after we end the show here. Stay backstage. And to our guests, thank you all for tuning in. And
thank you for watch our film. I believe it's a good film.
Yep, one more plug. Iran, the great game.
Amazon Prime Video, just $2.99 to rent that baby.
Yep.
And it's gorgeous, gorgeous film. Very well done. Thanks, Igor. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. Who's our guest next week? We have another guest booked next week,
I don't know.
No, Mel. Mel is next week, right?
Oh, Mel.
Yeah.
Well, who's
just simply Mel? It's like
Mel.
Cher or Madonna.
Well, we have Ask the Inspector next week, right? On Wednesday.
I hope so. I don't know. Scott's traveling. I'm not sure where he is, but I think so. And then next Thursday, Mel Whitty. I think that's her last name, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who's a big presence on X. And that'll be that. So take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.